Editorial illustration is basically you create illustrations for magazines and newspapers. Like if you open up a newspaper tomorrow and you see a lot of photos, but you see drawings with articles, that's basically what I do. I worked with Time, ESPN, Fortune, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and New Yorker. As an illustrator, what I always keep in mind is if I come up with an idea that may look better as a photo, then my idea is not good. I kind of change my brain into becoming the biggest fan of the subject matter. Then hopefully it makes the viewer stop and want to read the article. Japanese people look at my work and think it's very American. And then Americans think my work is very Japanese. So it's kind of like half and half. Part of it is like a heavy influence from like comics from 1970s and 80s. The style that I accumulated, that manga style never went away. I always draw on paper, and then I finish the whole drawing and I scan it in and finish all the coloring on Adobe Photoshop. So it's half digital, half analog. Nowadays, there is more emphasis on the tablet media. And if the world is moving to digital media, Illustrator has to adjust according to it. So I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic.
When did comic art become seen as high art? I'd say we're probably not there yet. When most people still associate us with the Avengers or the Hulk or something, they tend to think that that's for kids. I did Joe the Barbarian and Hellblazer, City of Demons. I'm also working on some Batman stuff, and I've been exclusive with DC Comics now for 5 or 6 years, I'd say. I would say my style is a lot of black, a lot of noir, very full, complex backgrounds, not photorealistic at all. Comic artists, you're sort of a caricature artist sometimes. Sometimes you're doing perspective, so you're using a lot of math to measure out backgrounds and whatnot. Sometimes you're storytelling. I would say that there's much more strict rules of storytelling. You should give a good enough impression of what's happening before people even really read. 80% of the market is probably superhero stuff, so I find myself writing a lot towards deeper subjects than just your typical like X-Men type stuff. I wrote and drew this project called Punk Rock Jesus. It's a story about a clone of Jesus who eventually decides he's an atheist, and he starts fighting mass media with a punk band. For me, it was just like a nice way to sort of tackle religion, politics, science, and sort of a little bit of sci-fi in a fun way that didn't really abandon anybody, but at least help them think. In my eyes, I think like, man, to like draw these worlds and to do all this stuff, it's so time consuming. Why would I waste 80 years of my life drawing people punching each other and wearing underwear outside of their tights and stuff, you know? Like, it just seems like there's room for more.
What the internet has done is it's exposed huge swaths of visual culture that were never prominent before. Now, because it's incredibly competitive to be an illustrator, illustrators are making their style incredibly specific to them, because that's the way that you become identifiable enough to get work. I have my roots in the New York burlesque scene, and I'm very known for doing these portraits of these glamorous, sequined covered drag queens and dancers. I got really interested in doing work grounded in the Victorian era when I was in college. It's cruel and it's gorgeous. I just became really interested in subversion and class, and I'm incredibly inspired by journalists and activists. I was one of the main poster artists for Occupy Wall Street. For a long time, there was a real idea of what activist art looked like. Activist art was red and black and had a lot of Soviet stuff. I wanted to show people that activism wasn't just something for a certain type of predefined person, but was rather something that we should all be interested in. An illustrator now can't just be a cool jack-of-all-trades that does lovely, competent illustrations, because there aren't enough slots anymore for lovely, competent illustrations. And so the illustrator kind of has to be a brand unto himself. They have to be an interesting human being and also put out cool, unique works of art for free. And then after you've built enough goodwill with your audience, they'll be interested in supporting you.